Hello from Germany, UK, London. No, London. Are you in London, Anna? You are in London. No, you're in Cambridge.
Near
in
Cambridge.
Amy,
Sorry, so near London.
sorry, and Talia in Israel. Lovely to have you all here. I'm just gonna give like 2-3 minutes for people to arrive or stay where they are and turn it on. And then we can start and hopefully cover some of the things we would like to cover. It's a subject which we could have daily conversations for a week, I guess. You know, I don't know if you know, but of course you don't know, but my first when I decided to go into music, my first year was in conducting, actually.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah, I was very brave because think of Brazil, Andrea, in the south of Brazil, and I owe everything to my mother, who was very, I do just dream, do whatever you want to do. But I remember I was the only girl, of course, doing the tests, the pre-tests to see if you could go in, and the only girl in the class. But then eventually I changed to singing because it was more. But I always loved it. I think it's a fascinating, amazing profession in the music.
What made you change?
I love singing, and I think I wanted to face the public, and
I'd rather my back be to the public.
No, it was not. I don't know. I think I was trying to play the piano. I wasn't very good pianist.
Gabriella, do you know Natalia Stutzman? She's a wonderful singer and became a conductor.
And Barbara Hannigan.
Barbara Hannigan. Hello. Amazing. Yeah.
There's still time for you yet, Gabriella.
There is still time, definitely. Shall I start practicing now?
Yeah, get your best on out.
No, it still fascinates me. I think it's amazing. It takes a lot of courage. I think, to do what we do takes a lot of courage anyway. But I think to face the orchestras or a choir, they are in your hands. I find it really powerful, and it's so inspiring because as somebody who's been inspired by conductors as well, you just, when you have somebody to inspire there, it's really amazing, isn't it? That you can create that music together. So I think that's what I wanted to do. But then I was like, I think I will sing. Well, okay, we're here. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And I'm Gabriella. If you don't know me, I am the founder and curator of the project, the charitable foundation now, Donne Women in Music, which promotes women in music from past and present, and invite many people into this conversation, as many as we can, to raise awareness and to get more people to talk about it and to learn, because we have a lot to learn. That's what I've been learning for the past 3 years since I started this venture, which turned into something so inspirational in my life. And one of the most amazing things in this project is the people I meet, and I am amongst 4 of them today, and you're so lucky to have them here with me and with all of you today. So the first thing I would like to ask you all is to introduce yourselves, where you are, what you do, just briefly, so we have a lot of things to talk about. Let's go alphabetically. Anna, no, Amy. Sorry.
Surname. I'm happy to kick off. Hi, I'm Amy Bebbington. I'm a choral conductor, predominantly an educator and a composer. I grew up on a farm, an arable farm in rural Shropshire, and I just attended the local state schools. It's very creative and expressive as a child, and lots of music and dance. So I really wanted to be a dancer, actually. But I was advised to go into music because that was the much better career choice for me. So I went off to Huddersfield University. I did 2 degrees in piano performance. So I started life really as a pianist. I think that's what helped me to springboard into conducting, because of that ability to create harmony and be the orchestra just by yourself. And I did various bits of training in Kodai and Dalcroze, which I absolutely adore. Yeah, so music, movement and education, I would say, are at the heart of what I do. I'm now the Director of Training for ABCD, that's the Association of British Choral Directors. So it's a very interesting job. I set up Wavelength in 2018 as well, and that organisation was set up to celebrate and nurture women in choral leadership. I'm also the co-founder of the London International Choral Conducting Competition, and that was established in the same year. So it was a very busy year for me. I'm a published composer. I'm really proud to be in the Multitude of Voices anthologies. And I established my own choral leadership and pedagogy course, which is a 3-day online course. And that was as a direct result of the pandemic. So I'm going to say I currently lead, but that's lead in inverted commas, because obviously I haven't done anything since March 2020. And I know we're all in the same boat there. Chamber choir, a school choir, a workplace choir, an undergraduate choir at the Royal Academy of Music, and a professional upper voice ensemble called Sound. But that's obviously in normal times when we're not being told by the government that we can't actually do the job that we do. So that's
we will talk about that very soon. Well, so talk about multitasking, Amy. Thank you, Amy. Welcome. Anna.
Yeah, I'm Anna. I live near Cambridge at the moment. I grew up in Oxford, and I didn't want to be a dancer. I wanted to be a maid when I was young. I don't know why. That I think, yeah, I'm something about it. I really wanted to be a maid. And then I discovered music, luckily. So I started with piano, violin, viola, and harp, and fell in love with the harp, and then took up the organ later, and sort of fell in love with that and had to choose. So the organ was very much my route into conducting. I did bits of orchestral conducting at school and helped rehearse groups, but then when I went to university, I was an organ scholar, so I was then working with a professional choir for 8 services a week and doing bits of conducting then as well. And from my job as director of music in Cambridge, at Pembroke College in Cambridge, which is where I've been ever since for 5 years now. And I run 2 choirs there. So I run a choir for undergraduates, but I also run a choir for girls aged 11 to 18. And it's such fun getting them to conduct and getting them to kind of break that barrier down and stand in front of their cohort for the first time and sort of lead them and explore their physicality. It's one of the best bits of the job. So yes, that's me. I also run a couple of other choirs. I run a choir for NHS staff from around the UK that was set up as a result of the last year. Luckily, we can now sing together again in a college setting, but I sympathise with Amy. It's been a really rough time for all of us.
Thank you, Anna. My spelling is really not good for today. Andrea should come before Anna, but never mind. Andrea.
Oh, yes, so never mind. You're all under A and Talia will come after. So very nice to be here with you guys. I am from Brazil as well. My name is Andrea Botelho. I'm half Brazilian, half German. Now I live in Berlin and I work here as a conductor, and I coordinate also intercultural projects between Brazil and Germany. I grew up in Rio de Janeiro, where I was born, and I have a chance to study there, but my conducting, I always wanted to be a conductor, and I had in Brazil was more in the piano field, but afterwards I studied here and in US and in St. Petersburg as well. So my goal of I have a passion for opera. That's where my heart is. But due to a lot of things, what we are going to talk today, also motherhoods, I spread my goals, and I work with 2 choirs, and I have also orchestras and a lot of things. And I love to teach conducting. I was just counting how many years I have been teaching conduct, like around now 15 years. And it's so amazing to teach young generations. I have some of my fellows, they are already having chances to be on the market, and it's really different to have a chance to teach women. So And now I'm doing during the pandemic times was rough for us all, and I decided to pursue my dream. That's make my research, my PhD research, and I'm so happy I'm pursuing it right now in Lissabon, but the virtual things lifetime have been going to Lissabon every week through Zoom. And the point I'm working is the feminism, the musicology of feminism, and my research point is the women conductors as well.
Hmm.
So we're gonna have.
So I will have to talk to you about it later.
Oh yes, we have been exchanging a lot already.
Yes, yes.
Talia, it's your turn now.
Okay, so I was born in Tel Aviv almost 50 years ago, and all my life music is part of me. Thanks to my parents, who were not musicians, but they loved music themselves, and through this, I came upon to study piano, and later when I was 14 and I attended the arts high school, I realized that the thing I really love the most, more than even the piano, is the orchestral music. So I decided to pick up the clarinet so I could join an orchestra and learn the process of rehearsals and concerts from the side of the player before I become a conductor. Because when I was 14, I realized this is what I want to do, to become a conductor. And I took it very seriously. And so I attended many rehearsals of the Israel Philharmonic and later of the LSO at the Barbican. So for 10 years in my life, I used to go to come to London 6 times a year. So the Barbican was my second home. And later I made my army service. And after the army service, I started my academic studies in Jerusalem in orchestral conducting, first and second degree, and artist diploma. And during this time, as I told you, I went to London, also to Berlin and the United States to have master classes with international conductors. And after my studies, I started working in the field. And for almost 20 years, I was music director of 2 orchestras in Israel. I left those positions almost 2 years ago. And now I'm doing more editing, music editing in the public radio station, which is transmitting 24/7 classical music. I think we're trying to be as good as the BBC Radio 3, and we are doing a serious job. And of course, I'm using my position there to bring more female composers to our listeners. And now I'm more guest conducting with many orchestras in Israel and also abroad. In 2 weeks, I have to, I hope, if the COVID will not stop us, so I have in 2 weeks a gig in Europe.
Oh, wow. Where?
In North Macedonia.
Oh, amazing. Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
For all of us,
Yeah.
in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I think there's so many things to cover here today. Let's, before I start, if each one of you could just really briefly, because many people might believe, like the same with women composers, that they're not enough women composers. That's why people don't add them to programs. And some people will say, oh, there's not enough women conductors. Anyway, we know that's not true. Talia actually has a fantastic thread on Twitter. She publishes only pictures of women conductors daily. Is that daily, Talia?
Daily, yes.
Yeah, daily.
One
So
conductor a day, yeah.
if anyone wants to find a conductor to conduct, just go to her Twitter feed and you'll find hundreds, actually. But each one of you, even despite all the challenges you managed and you actually followed through this career. So I would like each one of you really quickly, was that a person that inspired you? Was something else? And after that, what was your biggest challenge? Because we are talking different challenges here. We have a foreigner living in a different country, you know. Anna, you are the super young, of course you can't do this or ever, no? Why are you thinking, you know, Talia, I can't even imagine growing up in Israel, the differences you face. So I'm gonna go around now. Talia, you start.
So what is the first question?
What made you believe you could do it?
Oh, the thing that I was not aware of patriarchy when I was 14.
Oh, good, ignorance.
Ignorance, yes. And what inspired me is not any musician and not any conductor. It was the music itself. That when I attended the high school and we started learning really seriously music theory and repertoire and all those things, suddenly I realized that the music I really love the most is the orchestral music that my mother would used to let me listen to since I was a baby. And suddenly I felt, oh, this is my life, the orchestra. But since I was a pianist, it's not an orchestral instrument. And I never, until I was 14, I never played in any orchestra. And I didn't feel this is the way I should live. Like, although, as I told you, I picked up the clarinet in order to enter the orchestra, in order to know the work of the conductor, but not in order to be a clarinetist. Even though I still sometimes perform as a clarinetist because I love this instrument. So it was the music itself, purely the music, nothing to do with controlling orchestras, controlling people, nothing to do with fame, nothing to do with ego. It was purely music that I felt I want to create this, the sounds that of a symphony. But then, after I think 2 years, I realized that I never saw any female conductor in my life. And in that time, I'm very old, there was no internet, nothing. So there were not even CDs. I mean, CDs just started when I was in high school. So it was a completely different world. And I didn't know about Maren Alsop. I didn't know about Joan Faletta. I didn't know about Ethel Leginska from many years ago. I didn't know about Fanny Mendelssohn, who was herself a conductor. So I didn't have any model that I could follow. I only had male models. And then I asked myself, well, if there are no female conductors, maybe it's not for me to do it. I really asked myself, even once I asked a professor in the academy before I did the examinations to see, I asked her, well, may I be a conductor? Because there are no female conductors. So this is the answer to this question.
Anna?
I think for me, I was very lucky in that I had this inspirational director of music at school who just let me, or pushed me to conduct, I guess, and sort of gave me so many opportunities to stand up in front of a group. And I think that kind of gave me this quite early fascination with the idea of shaping sound. And I loved playing around physically and seeing then what the musical result would be. I got completely obsessed with it. I think when I then went to be an organ scholar, I thought that I didn't really like conducting because I was working in a very different environment. It was an all-male choir. And I guess one of my biggest challenges, to sort of tie the two together, one of the biggest challenges I found as a conductor is really figuring out who I am as a conductor and whether I'm performing a role or being myself. And I think it's something that I think a lot of young conductors particularly struggle with, because certainly if you're working with an all-male group, I found that my voice went lower. Just as a standard, I wasn't thinking about it. I just spoke with a lower voice for 3 years. I would always wear trousers. I got my hair cut short, and none of this was conscious. But I think I was like trying to perform this masculine role. And actually what I've loved is, since moving to Cambridge and having my own choirs to work with, I've loved working with them to figure out who I am as a conductor and be completely myself while taking a rehearsal. And the musical results of that are totally different. So I guess, yeah, that's kind of the biggest challenge, but also the inspiration behind it is figuring out how your own identity can come out in the act of shaping sounds.
This is very interesting, very common, I think, with women. We try to, my sister, when she moved here, in Brazil, women, normally we have long hair. Women are lots of makeup. And I remember when she moved here, she also felt the same. She cut her hair really short. And she started wearing a lot of trousers, black and white, got rid of all color because she wants to be respected. She's in the costume industry. And because she was feeling like, oh, people are not respecting me because I'm young and I'm a woman. And it's so common. And I was even reading another thread on Twitter the other day about the dresses singers use for auditions, and all the prejudice and the comments that and I was like, oh yeah, all my life. And even my teacher used to say to me, don't you even dare wearing trousers for an audition, or this or that. And I remember those are the rules you have to follow, and you pretty much accept that. Shocking. Andrea.
Oh, it's me. So
yes, it's you.
The question is about inspiration and
inspiration and challenge. Yeah.
And I was thinking about while you were talking, there's some of challenges that now I'm being more aware of. The inspiration was just like Talia, was the music. I was fascinated about Gustav Mahler's symphony. I was 13. That was for me a blossom just to hear his music. And for me, the sensation, I need to put a group together and make it sound. It was the approach. And by that time, I didn't, like Talia, didn't know any fellows. And I asked my teacher, my piano teacher, and he was not so encouraging, but he made me a list of hard things that I need to pass through, a lot of things that I need to learn, like singing, playing an instrument besides piano. And I made it. Because I really wanted to make it sound smaller. I didn't. By that time, I was not aware of patriarchy as well. So and then I was focusing what I need to do because he gave me the list. But at some point, I almost gave up. Then I went to a concert in Niterói, a state near Rio de Janeiro. And I was fascinated because what I saw was a woman in a green dress, just totally powerful, just conducting Beethoven. And was Ligia Maggio. By that time, she was my inspiration. That's what when I saw her, I said, "Oh, if she does it, I will not give up." So then we ended up being colleagues, and I'm working together at some point. So with the Human Conductors Symposium, and I'm so pleased to see her and to work hard with her just to make sure we're gonna have more chances in this career. Um, a lot of obstacles we have, not only the formation. For me, I just want to point to, maybe to inspire our discussion. It was for me actually the studying of conducting itself. That was always the woman. At some point, I was like, where it's gonna be not the woman. We're having more right now, but especially in St. Petersburg, a lot of times was that. But I have to thank a lot of my teachers. I had some issues with one or two that they pointed up because I was a woman that I couldn't do that. But I'm very pleased of my formation. I have a lot of good experience. And the second one, it's motherhood. By the time I experienced was a decision to be a mother, I was in the theater and I was looking how exotic I was. People were looking just to have a belly and a batoon was something unthinkable. Né? And it really happens the time that I got my child. It was really something that I need to care of. And I remember myself one moment was the moment that I put my I had a how to call anzug, terno,
A suit.
a suit to conduct, and I put it away because I said I need to give some time of it. But it's just to see how society accepts the fact you're a mother right now. So I didn't have anyone by that time that would give me this chance. No, you go. You must stay on the field. And it was not the society only, but the family, and it was just like, it's okay. You're a mother right now. So, and I felt myself alone, having to fight to come back. So, and a lot of times being not well seen for doing that, you know. I remember one concert, just to, I don't want to extend myself, but one single situation. Sometimes when we have to travel to have projects like 3 weeks project, and a lot of one question that was really always coming. So, oh, do you have children? And I said, yes, I have a daughter, a lovely one, by the way. Where is she now? When I said, with the father. Oh, she's by herself. She's like, no. Then I said, no, she's with her father. This kind of question. So, just shifting out the theme.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. Amy, what's your inspiration and challenges? Well, the challenges are always here for us.
Yeah. I think no single person encouraged me to actually go into conducting, but I do remember as a child, I used to go along with my mom to singing workshops, and I used to go along to choir rehearsals with my mom as well. So that was always something that was very present in my life. Although I had piano lessons, so piano was definitely my instrument, my first instrument. And when I was encouraged to take up the second instrument, I took up the oboe because it was meant to be an orchestral instrument. So singing never featured. And yet I loved singing. And, you know, when you're a young person, you sing. That's just what you do. And I think, you know, I'm also 100 years old, Talia. I think back in the day.
Can we stop this? This is an empowering conversation. Hello.
We're not ashamed of it. We're
no, me either. I've been around the block. Anyway, it wasn't something that was encouraged me to take up, but I really, looking back, I really wished I had, because now doing the work that I do, it's obviously piano is important, because when you turn up to a rehearsal and they tell you, you know, if you're depping for a choir, oh, we don't have an accompanist, our director leads from the piano, then it's really, you know, useful to have those skills. But I really wished, looking back, that I had pursued singing more and had lessons, proper consistent lessons, I mean, from a younger age. I have done that subsequently, obviously. But yeah, no one individual person encouraged me to go down the choral conducting route. And for me, it was always choirs. It's always gesture, movement, text, communication, people. That's what makes me excited about music making and music leadership, is actually working with other human beings who are responding to you very immediately and spontaneously and tangibly. And so they're sort of waiting on your every nuanced gesture. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in the orchestral world, but obviously we appreciate that there are subtle differences between, you know, leading the orchestra and leading the choir. And I think choirs just need a lot of love and a lot of support, and yeah, it's slightly different beast. So yeah, I think I couldn't have done anything else. All of the training and the skills and the type of person that I am just led me towards conducting choirs and teaching conducting. So as I said at the beginning of today, it's, for me, music making is all about the movement of sound and bringing people together, and the spontaneity of that, which is really, really exciting. So that, yes, sorry, what was the question that I'm...
you answered.
Answering it. And you wanted to know about some challenges.
Oh, the challenges, yeah.
I think I've had quite a lot of challenges. So after I did my 2 degrees and I left Huddersfield. Well, I stayed in Huddersfield, but I left the university, obviously. I tried to get conducting positions and couldn't. I did an elective at university, a conducting elective, and we did all the beat patterns, but we didn't conduct anyone or anything. We just did all the beat patterns. So there was no live music made from any of us standing in front of others making music. But that was pretty much all of my training. Then when I graduated, I did one solo recital as a pianist, and I gave up after that evening. I said, nope, this is not for me. Hundreds of hours of practice for one concert, ripple of applause, end. I said, absolutely no way. I need to work with people. So I was a repetiteur for Opera Femina, which I adored. So all women singing in opera company, and we toured around the UK, and that was fabulous. But then I did some training with Sing for Pleasure and ABCD, and that was where I got my initial conductor training. But I couldn't get any jobs, and I could see my male colleagues getting jobs left, right, and centre, being offered jobs, and I would go and interview and audition, and I wouldn't get it. And I wouldn't get it, and I wouldn't get it. And I couldn't move up. I was standing still for such a long time. And I was working in schools, I was teaching, I was doing animateur projects, all these sorts of things. Lots of accompanying, but I just couldn't get on the rung of the ladder. So then when I met Dr. John Dixon, that was in York, 2002, I think. He invited me to go and study with him in Texas in America. And actually getting the doctorate in choral conducting, I feel for me was what I needed. I needed the confidence. I needed the piece of paper. I needed the letters after my name. And that seemed to work. And then the doors have opened and I've been believed. I don't know if that says anything about the system or about me. I don't know. But yeah, lots of challenges. I think we're faced with lots of challenges, and committees who are made up of people who aren't necessarily musical. So if you're going for an amateur choir, and on that committee, you've got lots of people who are perhaps an accountant and a teacher and something else, you know, they're not professional musicians, and always it's like, can you handle an orchestra? That's always the question. Are you going to be okay with an orchestra? And that's their major worry. It's like, look, you just have to sell yourself. I can do this, just give me a chance. I mean, so many times I'm not shortlisted for the things I'm infinitely qualified for. So then they don't even see whether you can do it or not, because you don't even make the shortlist. Anyway, I could go on and on and on, but I'm not.
Yeah. Couldn't we all? And it's similar to the works of women composers or diverse composers never being played and never having the chance of being for the audiences to get familiarity with those pieces. No, they don't have a chance. That's it. They stand in this, this world of invisibility. Okay,
not in my radio shows.
No, not in your radio shows. I know. Thank you, Talia. Okay, we have 3 things I want to talk about. There's not going to be enough time. So the importance of grassroots and encouraging younger women, and not only women, but anyone to follow this path. Why is this still happening? Why are people not allowing, Talia? For you brought it up. Why do you think these things are still happening, and what are the solutions we are gonna try to suggest to everybody? Okay, so let's go grassroots first. Maybe Anna and Amy. I don't know all of you, but Anna, I think you are the proof that having encouragement, from somebody when you're really young and not the most obvious choice. To be in front of a choir or an orchestra, how far this can make somebody go, isn't it? So don't we all think, and I started to think this more and more and more in classical music, that classical music is kind of deciding who is going to do things. It has this attitude of deciding we should listen, who should be. So how can we all do better with Amy and Anna? Maybe Anna now.
I think personally, I feel like it's about trying to break down the hierarchies of our groups a little bit more. So like with the girls' choir, we just have it so the youngest person can come and conduct a piece if they are interested in conducting it. And we will just make sure that one person is conducting every couple of weeks, and or trying to reinforce at this young age that it's not just a case of beat patterns. It's like that it sort of isn't right and wrong in the same way there is in a maths test or something. It's about freedom of expression, and particularly working with a choir, it's kind of about showing the text and showing the crucial things, not necessarily the 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's something really, really interesting to explore, but just trying to build up the confidence of young people so that they can stand in front of a group of people who are older than them and say, actually, can we try it my way? And like enabling them to have the confidence to make those decisions. Because I think when children are in education, they're used to being told this is the way. They need to be like given the creativity to say, well, this is an alternative way. Can we try it? I think that's a really important thing, and trying to just expand that out a little bit so that it's not just, I mean, I feel like women conductors are really good at encouraging other women conductors. It'd be really nice if we could just all encourage everyone.
Exactly.
It's true. Amy, you do a lot of works with, are you connected with the Royal Philharmonic Society and all the, the Sorrel?
So yes, I wanted to talk just briefly about that. I don't know enough about it, but I do know that the Sorrel program that Sian Edwards is heading up at the Royal Academy of Music is really crucial, and she's had lots of women coming in. So that's a massive encouragement for women to step forward and to put themselves forward for master's degrees in orchestral conducting. So that's, I believe, still going ahead, and Sian is an absolute inspiration, wonderful leader. So that's a good thing. And yes, the Royal Philharmonic Society, I know that they've been working with Alice Barnum extensively, who's been touring around the UK, not just in London, and encouraging women to step forward and try their hand at conducting. So that, I think those two programs are really exceptional, and it's great that those have been supported. I mean, in the work that I do with ABCD, it's for all comers, so all levels and all comers, so men and women. It's interesting that I think in general, more women want to develop their skills and learn and educate themselves more than men. That's a sort of general sweeping statement, but we do find that ordinarily we have more women wanting to try it out than men.
That's great.
Yeah, I would also probably say that there are more women at the lower level and perhaps more men at the higher level. I don't know if that says anything either,
but I almost feel like that's one of the things that we have to, one of the misconceptions that we have to fight quite a lot as female conductors, because I think if you say female conductors to certain people, they think kind of like, oh yeah, sort of working in primary schools and things like that, and that's, they are less quick to jump to the standing in front of a symphony orchestra. And I feel like that's something we really just need to slam out the window.
yeah.
Another thing, if I must say, I don't know if, but it's like the networking. And that's something that I'm really proud to tell you. That's 2016. We started the movement in Latin America about the women conductors movement. So since 2016, we have symposiums that once were organized by Ligia Madio and another 3 other fellows. And now I am one of the coordinators, and I'm really proud to tell you we're growing and growing. 2020, we have more than 40,000 views per day for our symposium. Have more, almost 1,000 conductors, female conductors taking part, just discussing. Talia was one of them, just discussing the things that we're like, and that's so empowering. That's an empowerment. That's powerful. We know each other. We know who we are, and we are working more together in our issues that we need to overcome. And also, inspiring new generations. But it's something that's sometimes annoys me a little bit, because a lot of non-generational young sometimes they don't think that the problem is not so much because maybe they are like me and Talia. What we said, when we are young, we don't feel so much the patriarchy. So the problem is still there. It needs to fight. So I invite you all to check our website. We wrote a manifesto, women conductors, women-conductors.com.
Can you write it on the chat, and then I will Amy as well, if you wanna anyone, if you wanna share anything, just put it on the chat and I put it on YouTube.
I should very briefly just mention ICCF as well. The
Yes.
International Choral Conductors Federations. That's a very, very new federation that has been established. The hub is in Rome, in Italy, and it's Michele Josia who has set that up. So I think we've got about 50 founder members now, but that will hopefully grow, and again, it will hopefully be a sort of global opportunity to network and provide training and support and compassion for choral conductors.
Yes.
I would like to talk about the core and the root of the problem as I see it.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Well, I would like to put the blame, and it's okay, I don't have any problem to do it, to the management of the orchestras. They are the ones who are choosing the guest conductors and the music directors. And it's up to them in one moment to decide that from the next season, they can invite 50% male conductors and 50% female conductors. There is no any excuse of not doing that. Well, I'm sure they will tell me, oh, but there are not enough female conductors. But this is a big lie. And I can prove to you, because I have hundreds and actually 1,400 female conductors around the world, that a high percentage of them can stand in front any best and biggest orchestra in the world, and they can do even much better than the most famous conductors you know. Okay, I can assure you that. And by the way, I didn't mention it, but I myself teach conducting already for 22 years. And not that it makes me a better judge, but still I also judging in competitions. And when I watch my colleagues, my female colleagues, and some of them are anonymous, and I say, how come they are still anonymous? They're so talented. Maybe they had only 1 or 2 opportunities conducting a major orchestra, and I watch their videos and I see, how come not everybody knows them? How come they're not music directors? Or at least, how come they're not more guest conducting with bigger and better orchestras? And that's what I see. So actually, there is no excuse for any music director and any CEO or manager of an orchestra not to raise the numbers of female guest conductors in his orchestra. Well, actually, I would like to say the opposite. If they don't invite, so then I can really accuse them that they are making a bias, that they are making a discrimination, because how come they didn't pick also from female? Well, maybe they have a problem with female conductors. Well, probably yes, because they don't have anything that they cannot prove me that they couldn't find any. Because if they can't, they can come to me and I can advise them. And not only me, of course, but I just want to show that there is no one reason not to invite more and more female conductors for many seasons from now on to the eternity.
But don't you all think that maybe the only solution that I can think of would be that every organization in the world would have to have a diverse board making those decisions? Because how, the people making decisions is not the only one or two, sometimes two or three, I don't know, depends on the organization. How can we have everybody being represented if the majority of these people are either male or white, or I don't know? Because I think as we were talking just before the camera, there's also this discussion of, why do we have to call women conductors anyway? Why do we have to call women composers? Why do we need this pre-label? But we still need it. We still need it. That's my opinion. And many women conductors, they write to me, oh, why do we have to be called women conductors? I'm a conductor. Yes, but there's a huge ignorance still, as Talia said. People think women conductors don't exist because that's the assumption. Women composer didn't exist. So it's a difficult one to know. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think a pledge to 50-50, is a really, really useful thing, and it's a great start. And I know Trinity College launched the Venus Blazing series with composers. I know ABCD this year are pledging to do 50-50 for our festival, our online festival in September. It's a really easy thing to do for, it's so simple to do, because where there's a man that's done a job, there's a woman that's done a job equally as well. So that's not hard. And I think 50-50 is a really positive move forward. I wonder whether COVID might have thrown a spanner in the works, because when things are starting up again, I think that organizations are going for well-known names, well-known music, well-established conductors. And I think there might be a bit of a backlash to get audiences back again. I don't know. I just feel that might be.
I think the opposite, because now that anyway the audience wants to come to concerts, this is exactly the time to make changes in both in repertoire and in the guest artists, soloists and conductors. And I think that audience will be less picky. And by the way, I wouldn't like to accuse the audience for being conservative. It's the management. They accuse the audience of being conservative, and therefore they form repertoire which is only Beethoven, Brahms, and Mozart. But which orchestra did make a research recently to check really what their audience want? By the way, the orchestra is the one that teaches us, and we learn the things from them. They are the leaders. They should lead the change. It's their responsibility. It's not only, orchestra is not only a music organization. It's a leadership, a cultural leadership organization. And if they don't see themselves as such, they have a big problem.
I totally agree with you, Talia. I'm just wondering whether some of those organizations might play safe and take a step backwards, but I don't feel they should.
I think, Amy, and I think I'm as I said, I'm learning as I go in this project. And yes, COVID has impacted all of us in the music industry, but it has disproportionately impacted women and women of color. So if the whole world understands that and the music world decides not to address that, I find that then we are really choosing wrong. And I think as women, and as not only women, but as somebody who wants to see a better society in the future, we have a responsibility. Music cannot be just entertainment anymore. And music is such a powerful, wonderful thing that can make or inspire change. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I wonder if sort of tying into what Amy said, but also what Talia said, I wonder if organizations are booking women conductors and programming female composers and all this stuff, but it's just tending to always be the same ones. And so there's a group of really high profile people who are always getting booked. And so actually we need to be encouraging a diversity of conductors and a diversity of representation in terms of numbers, and just being like, actually there's more than like 5 there. It's the same with female organists. I'm very aware that like there are a couple of us who get kind of booked as the female organist, and there are hundreds, and you want to be kind of sharing it out. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how we can make that happen other than saying, look, here are all these amazing people, which is exactly what Talia's been doing.
Well, actually, I came up with a suggestion just 2 days ago that I was thinking about it, and we can initiate a project that is asking all the male conductors, and not only male conductors, even all the busy conductors, to mentor a female conductor who didn't reach the level of that she deserves, actually in her professional level. And once we have this, and mentorship is not only guiding how to conduct Beethoven 7, we don't need that. We already know, and sometimes we can teach our mentors. But just to really lead her and to the professional scene, and to help her get assistantship here, a position here, or even invitation here or there. And because I think there are many conductors who have a lot of work, and one concert that they can share will not harm their career, but it can really help someone else who needs it. So I think if conductors will become generous, and I'm very sorry to say that I really I think there should be some improvement in the characters of many of my colleagues. But if they will be really more generous and will think a little bit about others and about their colleagues, so we can make a big change. And of course, visibility is another way, which I'm trying to do. And I think it was 8 years ago in 2013, if you remember, that Marin Alsop got to do the last night of the proms. And I don't know, maybe you were still babies, but I completely remember this, that after, I mean, two months before the concert, suddenly all the music critics would interview musicians, they would raise up the question, what do you think about female conductors now? Because Marin also got the last night of the proms. Wow. I mean, everybody knows that this is not a big program, but it's a symbol. It's a big symbol, not a big program musically. And three conductors said that they don't think the women should conduct at all. Okay, so it was a big fuss in the musical world, and suddenly people said, oh, you cannot talk like this, and there was a big fuss. But since then I realized that there were more and more female conductors getting jobs, and so it did make a change. Actually, thanks to those stupid three, there was a little bit of a change. But also Jessica Dashan, she wrote an article, and then she said she actually a little bit accused the media, including herself, that the media is also responsible, because many times, or mostly, when conductors who happen to be women have concerts, they don't cover it. They don't make reviews, interviews, and because patriarchy is trying to hide us in any way, or including in media. So she said that also we have to be more visible, more seen, and then people cannot ignore us anymore. So actually what I'm doing in One Conductor a Day is more to fight against the management of orchestras through the public, to make a public pressure that people will see, and especially women, they are very attached to this hashtag. And I also see, according to the likes I get in Facebook and in Twitter, that mostly women feel that it encourages them, even who are not musicians and are not conductors, and that this actually shows them that there are female conductors, and they are great because they can see the link attached, which is a video of one of the concerts. So how come I've never seen myself? How come in my country, including mine, there are no female conductors who are doing big concerts, only family concerts or matinee or things like that? So why? What is the reason? Well, we all know there is no real reason except for sexism and keeping male patriarchy on top. That's it.
I must compliment what you said. In fact, so I follow you on the Facebook, and I have on my website also in a list from conductors. I think you saw it. And the one we need to just to make sure, that's one thing that I learned with the Women Conductors Symposium, that without network, without not connecting to ourselves, and without making the exercise just to engage women to be there. Also, if it represents not you being there,
Mhm.
the way that we make sure that we're gonna be more and more seen as a common. It's a shame. One thing that I want to point to, we have Johanna Malwitz here in Germany. It's a great conductor. And
Yeah.
I was so excited to see her in the concert house because that's one of the biggest orchestras we have. And then finally, and we are really also, we're like just, we're dreaming every day to have her as a main conductor, because it will be for us the first woman to be in front of directing, not only as a guest, but being somehow in charge to be in front of this orchestra. But you know how the media calls her Ausnahmedirigentin. So what is Ausnahmedirigentin? Das ist jemand, eine Exception.
Yeah.
So like I was like, what an opportunity
Well,
not to call her anything but conductor.
yes.
And they
Yes.
do point her as an Ausnahme. Ausnahme is like an exception from the normality that would be men. So I said, what is the what's about?
Because men want us to be exception. They don't want us to be too many. So they want us to be rare and to pick up, oh, I know one conductor. Yes, I know one female conductor. This is what they say. Oh, I know a good one in Brazil or in Mexico. Oh, I've heard of one female conductor. Oh, really? I also heard of one male conductor, you know? I know one. Yes, one. Yeah.
This remind me a story that Imar Noon, I don't know if you know, Imar Noon is the
sure.
Irish conductor who did the Oscars a couple of years ago. And she always tells that story when she was finishing her studies, and she had this man conductor that she worshipped, and then she asked him, and he came to ask her, oh, what would you like to do with your musical career? And she said, oh, I want to be a composer and a conductor. And he said, you don't have a chance. You're young, you're female, and you're Irish. And she actually introduced me to Alicia Adelaide Needham, who was this Irish composer who was the first woman to conduct at the Royal Albert Hall. And she got really angry that she only found out about her a couple of years ago, because she said, if I knew her, I could have told him, but how about Alicia Adelaide Needham? She was Irish, she conducted. And the sad thing is, like, I didn't know Alicia Adelaide Needham either. And I went to find out more about her. She had a brilliant career, composed a lot, but died completely without any knowledge of the public. And her son became a famous biologist. And after he died, they found her papers in his things, which were donated to Cambridge University, if I'm not mistaken. So we can't allow this to happen anymore. And I think there's a series of things that have to happen. Talia, I think we can really try to make this mentorship thing happen with Donne in the future. That would be really amazing if we could get all conductors in the world to mentor, men and women, to mentor a young conductor.
Well, there's the Momentum scheme that Barbara Hannigan has set up. I don't know if you know about it, but it's not restricted to conductors. It's just everyone. And she's got, like, I don't know, 100 of the world's best artists signed up, and they all suggest a young singer or whoever, and they basically agree to share some of their concerts. So if they've been booked to do a 60-minute recital, this singer gets 10 minutes at the start. And the idea is it gives them that platform. And I guess, it's a very similar thing. It's just choosing to use our platforms to shine light on other people.
It's like the band's opening for a big show, right? When we want to see pop shows, they always have another band opening. That's it.
HTV actually run a mentorship scheme for choral conductors as well. So what we do is we place up and coming conductors with experienced conductors, and then they can go and observe their rehearsals. They can lead a warm up. They can take a song in a concert, that sort of thing. So we've had that going for quite a long time. We just need to do more of it so that there's more reach.
Yeah.
My mission that I would love is to actually elevate the status of choral conductors, because it's seen as the poorer cousin of the orchestral conductor in comparison to the orchestral conductor. And I actually would love to see that level balancing out so that we are all not revered, but considered on a level playing field, and that both approaches are equally as relevant and equally as valid and should be equally respected. I'm sure everyone agrees with that, but when you turn up to work with players and they say, oh, she's just a choral conductor, and then they ignore you, that's not on, yeah.
Definitely. Well, people, it's 6 o'clock. I know everybody is pressured with time, but I'm going to ask if anybody has questions here on YouTube. And before we finish, if each one of you can give one piece of advice really quickly, what would be your number one advice to either young women going on this career or women already in this career? What would be the top number one thing you would like to suggest?
I would say, I want to quote Oscar Wilde, be yourself, everyone else is already taken.
I love that one.
Don't give up.
Also important.
Be visible and take videos of your concerts, because you can always delete if it's not good, but you cannot record it after it was already done.
Amy stole my one. I was going to say, be yourself. I think it is, as a conductor or as any musician, you spend so many hours being told, this is how you do this, this is how you do that. But ultimately, when you're in a rehearsal room, it's about forming a real connection with the people. And you cannot do that if you're acting a role. So figure out who you are as a musician and a person and a conductor, and just put that into the room.
Thank you. Well, I told you we were going to have chapters of conversations. So this was chapter 1. Thank you all for being here with me. I asked the panelists just to stay here with me after we say goodbye. And thank you all for being here today. Next week, we're going to review the results of our research on the orchestral seasons, all the composers that have been played or not played, or they were supposed to be played during the seasons, but some were digitally played. And I invite you all to, Barbara Newman said, great discussion. Thank you. Hello from Mexico, Claudia Rodriguez. No, Shulamit Mariscal and Claudia Rodriguez said, hi, Andrea. Hi, everybody. And hi from Brazil. I forgot to mention that. So stay connected with us. Thank you so much for being here. Share this video with other people afterwards, because that's what they're here for. So we can reach more people and get these conversations going. Thank you. And I will see you all sometime soon.